sometimes we intend on saying something, but it usually so happens that we come across as, it just comes across as something different. Has it ever happened to you? Yes, it does happen. And I mean, more so if, let's say, you wanted to be positive or you wanted to sound good, but then you came across as someone who could not be trusted. Well, this definitely won't be the best situation to be in. And why does that happen? Well, this happens because of certain words which we unknowingly end up using without realizing that what is the effect that these words are creating. Now, what are these, 5 words precisely which you need to ditch from your vocabulary ASAP so that you don't come across as someone who is being negative or who's being a pessimist or who cannot be trusted? You definitely don't want to come across like that, right? So, well, you all are once again most welcome to Tutorials Point. This video brings to you 5 words which you actually need to ditch from your vocabulary, or so to say, you probably need to be more careful while using these words so that, after seeing this video, I'm sure you'll be able to gauge where to use these words and where to avoid using these words. So what are these words? Let's go ahead and see. Well, just as strange as it might just sound, yes, just is a word which doesn't come across as really, really great. Well, just is, usually it's used as a filler word, right? Whenever we are speaking, we end up using a filler, and just is probably a very, very commonly used filler. Now, what does just portray? Well, just actually, just usually whenever you use just, it portrays or it comes across, people perceive it as merely. So if you would say, I was just thinking, what you meant was, I was merely thinking. Now, merely is not a very, very good word to be used if, it doesn't portray a very good impression. Merely is probably, when you're using merely, you're being not as honest, or you're sort of being defensive. So if you use, this is the effect which unknowingly we use just, but this is the effect which it creates. Merely, I was just thinking, I was merely thinking, which means you're saying you were thinking, but you weren't thinking actually. So knowingly or unknowingly, this is the impression which just creates. So yes, and this is a study which is done by psychologists. So psychologist experts also suggest that we should avoid using this word because, especially as a space filler, because it doesn't come across as very, very positive or very, very trustworthy, or we cannot completely believe in a person who uses this word very often. So, well, this is the first word which you might need to be very careful while you are using it. Well, but is yet another very, very commonly used word. Now, what does but do? Well, but is completely a meaning changer. So whenever you're saying something and let's assume you're saying a sentence, and just in the middle of the sentence you said, so and so happened, but. So the moment you say but, it means that whatever you said before it didn't make any sense. So whatever now you're going to say is actually something that makes more sense and that actually holds true value. So but is yet another meaning changer in the sentence. And if you don't want to sound very, very sort of a person who doesn't beat behind the bush, and a person who just doesn't go round and round, if you don't want to sound like that, well then you might want to avoid using this word, because this is a complete meaning changer. The moment you use this word, everything before it doesn't make any sense. So everything before but doesn't carry any sense. So be very careful while you're using this word. Be careful where to position it, how to position it, so that it doesn't come across as irritating for the listener. Should, well, yes, knowingly or unknowingly, you'd be surprised to know that should yet is another word which has really a negative impact usually on the listeners. Now, why? So should is more of an obligation. So you should do this, which means you're ordering someone to follow what you're telling them to do and not to do what probably is going on in their mind or what they want to do. So if you put this condition, then you should have done this, which means that you're being very, very sort of ordering them. You're being very, very dominating, not exactly dominating, but yeah, you're just kind of throwing orders at them, and you are making them feel that yes, whatever I say holds the highest value and that has to be followed. So you're just trying to be a bit more bossy, and that is not something which usually people would love to work. Such kind of environment, people usually don't enjoy working in such an environment. So yes, this is how should comes across. It portrays more of an obligation or more of an stop your own process, do what I say. So it just comes across as very, very bossy. So well, avoid using this word. It might just have a negative impact, or else even if you want to use it, try to articulate it only at the right position without just using it here and there without realizing what it would, what sort of an impression it would create. Always, yes, always is yet another word. Isn't it surprising? Well, why does this word again come across not as very, very honest? That is because, see, always means something which just happened all the time, every time. Obviously, when you're saying, I always follow the schedule, you are obviously nothing can be done always. It is impossible to follow something always. Obviously, in all likelihood, you would be perceived as someone who is being dishonest, right? So I always attend my meetings, or I always am on time as far as my meetings are concerned. Obviously, that is not possible. There is going to be a situation wherein there's going to be a lag. No one can be perfect, right? So perfection is just a myth. So always is a word which more or less portrays perfection, which basically is a myth. So yeah, always might not be the most sort of well received word, or you might be perceived as someone who is trying to be dishonest and just trying to cover up by using this word. So yes, use it very carefully. It might have a negative impact sometime. Well, the last word, which again has a very negative impact, is can't. Of course, can't, I mean, the moment you hear it, what comes to your mind? Obviously, the only thing that would come to our mind is like, no, that's not possible. So she can't do it. She just can't do it. Obviously, it comes across as very, very negative, very, very sort of a pessimist sort of an expression which is being conveyed by using this word. So again, if you want to use it, be careful before using it, because it might just end up demotivating someone. And knowingly or unknowingly, if you end up demotivating someone, that might not be the best thing to do. So well, I'm sure this video, all these 5 words that I shared with you all, would have created sort of some food for thought for you all, and I'm sure you would be better careful before using these words next time in your language, so that they don't come across as negative. Knowingly or unknowingly, you don't end up offending anybody, or you don't end up creating a negative vibe around you. Well, keep learning with tutorials, Point and Tutorics. I will see you again in the next video. Have a great day.